Hello everyone, my name is Sam King, and by the end of this video, you're going to believe that world peace is possible and that this is the idea that brings it about. So, I'm going to explain this idea in a little while, but I've been working on it since last fall, and it's just me, and I'm kind of a nobody, because obviously you have no idea who I am. I'm just an average person like you. I'm struggling financially, I'm not sure where my life's going to go, but I have an idea that I know for sure is going to change the world. And the reason I know it is because other people are talking about it too. They just don't realize it yet. So, the reason why I know that my idea is good is because I've heard other people talk about it. They just don't know that they're talking about the world peace movement. Throughout history, there have been multiple discoveries of the same thing at the same time. It's called simultaneous discovery or simultaneous invention. And I'm going to link a couple other videos here in the upcoming days, as soon as I can get them edited out, that show other people are talking about the world peace movement. They just don't know it yet. So, there's this thing called simultaneous invention. And throughout history, people have made the same discovery at the same time, independently of each other. And that is what's happening right here, right now, today, with this world peace movement. Other people who you've heard of, such as Stephen Colbert or Joe Rogan, and someone I recently discovered, Melissa Chin, are all talking about the world peace movement. They just don't realize it yet. Hopefully by the end of this video, they will. Let me give you an example of a simultaneous invention. We've all heard the name Isaac Newton, right? You've never heard of Sam King. Have you ever heard of Gottfried Leibniz? Because at the same time as Isaac Newton was discovering calculus, so was he. Another example is in the 1800s, when Charles Darwin, again, a name that you know, and Alfred Russel Wallace both discovered natural selection. Charles Darwin got all the credit. I've never heard of this Alfred guy. I don't want or need any of the credit. I just need this to come true. I hope that you choose to have me as a leader, but if not, that's okay. But this needs to happen as quickly as possible. The world is on a precipice. Look at everything that is going on. The system is falling apart because there's just too many of us. The system is falling apart because there's just too many of us. There's no way the few people at the top can understand and fix all of the issues that we have as individuals. So we need to create the tools to report, track, and take action into all of these issues in one place. That's what we're going to create. So I told you earlier that I finally had the proof that I needed to put my foot down and make this happen. I'm going to get over my imposter syndrome. I'm going to try to deal with my depression and other mental health issues that we'll discuss later. Just know that I'm doing my best and I'm trying to do okay. But Orson Scott Card, one of my favorite authors, recently released a book around the same time, ironically, that I started this whole world peace movement thing. But I just got around to listening to this book, and in it, he describes the world peace movement near verbatim. Some differences, obviously, but that shows me, without a doubt, that the world is ready and needs this idea. Because if someone as great and as amazing as Orson Scott Card is writing down my idea near verbatim, it's time. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to read the part of the book where Orson Scott Card goes ahead and just describes the world peace movement. Obviously, it's in a different context, and there are differences. So after I'm done reading it, I'm going to go ahead and reread those parts and explain the differences and explain what I'm hoping for and expecting out of you, the viewer. This company I'm starting, this nonprofit, it's a military contractor, but not in the traditional sense. My model is what happened with Bingwin and the Nano Cloud. He recognized a need for a handheld delivery system, and then you put a team together and gave him a solution for free. No contract, no committees, no red tape, no bureaucracy, no one in finance killing the initiative because the margins were too low. A problem was presented, and a solution was almost instantly provided. One that the Marines on site could assemble themselves. You didn't have members of the board putting their nose in it and crunching numbers. You didn't have delays in production and nightmares with distribution. You didn't have any of the normal headaches. None of the parts of your job that you hate. All that went away. You only had to deliver an idea for the fleet to build on site where it was needed, so it got from your brain into a Marine's hands immediately. Or nearly immediately, which saves lives because it doesn't leave Marines in a lurch, desperate for equipment and solutions. That's the company I'm giving you, Ben Yahweh. One that discards traditional models of military contracting and completely ignores the sluggish quagmire that is fleet bureaucracy. It sounds brilliant, said Ben Yahweh, but it's missing what such a company requires. Several things, in fact. Tell me. 1. The company's objective is to produce ideas, said Ben Yahweh, solutions to whatever countermeasures the Formics introduce. But ideas have to come from somewhere, or more specifically, from someone. They can't all come from me. I'm not that smart, or that capable. This is a company of engineers. Do you have anyone other than me? Not at the moment, said Lim, but you'll help me build a team. We'll find them at Juke and its competitors. We'll find them at universities. We'll find them at 10,000 places all over the earth. Remember when we needed help with the hall mat? What did we do? We reached out to the world. We opened the door and welcomed any and all ideas. And what did we discover? We found Wheela, who we wouldn't have found otherwise. And she showed us what the Formics were doing. She opened our minds to a solution that none of us would have ever considered on our own. There are more Wheelas out there, Ben Yahweh, more people who have something to contribute. But since they don't work for one of the big players, they don't contribute. I want to enlist the world, Ben Yahweh. I want to throw back the curtain and ask anyone with a brain to help us beat the Hive Queen. We can't compete against her with only a few members of a select team. We need everyone to help design whatever tool is needed. I call it open source warfare, and it's our only hope of keeping pace with the Hive Queen. What you're suggesting sounds good in principle, Lim, but do you have any idea how difficult it is to manage what you're suggesting? Enlisting that many people? Finding them? Vetting their ideas? This only works if it's fast. If it gets ideas to Marines immediately. But what you're suggesting sounds like chaos. It will be at first, said Lim. Finding the right people, collecting the right minds. That won't happen overnight. But once this A-team of engineers is assembled, you're off to the races. There's another big problem here, said Ben Yahweh. I knew you would spot all of the problems, said Lim. That's why I chose you. Open source warfare only works if we know what the needs are and if there are engineers on the ships ready to implement what we suggest. Every warship of the fleet would need a workshop dedicated to building and implementing new equipment on the fly at the battlefield. That workshop would need to be staffed by mechanical engineers who, like Victor Delgado, can custom make this equipment to Marines' exact specifications as quickly as humanly possible. They'll need equipment like printers that can manufacture any number of different materials, design and drafting software, tools. Ships already have most of those things, said Lim, and we can recommend staffing changes on every ship that will dedicate engineers to these immediate needs. Remember, if we do this, it might save the fleet tens of billions of credits a year in expensive military contracts, maybe hundreds of billions. They're going to like this idea. It gets them solutions faster, and it costs them next to nothing, except perhaps for the expense of materials, which they would be all too happy to provide. They're going to accommodate this. They're going to weep with joy at this idea. And they're not going to pay us, said Ben Yahweh. So where does the money come from? Nonprofits don't operate on air, and people don't dedicate all their brain power and energy for nothing. Even something as noble as saving Marines and protecting the human race. People have mortgages. People have to eat. Initially, I'll fund it, said Lim. I'll bankroll the whole thing. Then we'll work with people who raise money like this for a living. It saves Marines' lives. It expedites the war. It allows people, through their meager contribution, to stick their own hot poker right in the Hive Queen's eye. I'm not worried about money. Well, folks, there you have it. Simultaneous discovery. Orson Scott Card, the name that you know, and Sam King, someone you've never heard of, have both decided that we need to network the masses, that we need to give everybody the opportunity to have just a meager contribution towards solving world peace and every single issue along the way. All right, there you have it. The world peace movement described in a book by someone far greater than me, Orson Scott Card. You haven't heard of me, but some of you have heard of him. And if he's having this same idea, and again, there are others as well that I will hopefully be able to get the videos out, we know that this idea is real. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to describe the differences between his system in this book and the real life example of the world peace movement. All right, so again from the top. This company I'm starting, this nonprofit, it's a military contractor, but not in the traditional sense. My model is what happened with Bingwin and the Nano Cloud. He recognized a need for a handheld delivery system, and then you put a team together and gave them a solution for free. So, what are the differences between this part and the real life world peace movement? First off, we are not a nonprofit. We are a charity. We are a whole bunch of things, but we are not a nonprofit, and that is okay. The reason we're not a nonprofit is that U.S. laws prohibit nonprofits from directly supporting or opposing individual politicians for a good reason. You wouldn't want some rich, oligarch, let's say Bloomberg, to go out and try to steal a presidency or form a nonprofit and then be able to support himself or oppose anybody else. Obviously, super PACs and PACs have kind of skidded around this whole thing, but we won't be able to, unfortunately. We are going to be the target of a lot of opposition. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people won't want this. So, we are not a nonprofit. All that means is that we have to pay taxes. Like you, I'm not a huge fan of paying taxes, but it's not the worst thing that ever has happened to me. And then he goes on to talk about the model with Bingwin and the Nano Cloud. So what happened with that was exactly, people keep asking me for an example. Hey, show me an example of this thing working. Well, I have a fictional example right here of this happening. What was needed was that these nano robots were currently delivered in a system that would have put Marines' lives at risk if they had to individually applicate it. And they couldn't get into these tunnels that they needed to apply this stuff and do it because the nano cloud would have attacked the Marines. So they just said, hey, we have a problem. Give us your solutions. And that's what we're going to do for every single issue. We're going to report it. We're going to say this is our issue. Man-made climate change, overtaxation, rights of different peoples and ideas, all sorts of stuff. You're going to report it. You're going to track it, and you're going to take action into it. You want a real-life example of how this will work? I've got a real-life fictional example. We go out there, we report, we track, and we take action. No contract, no committees, no red tape, No bureaucracy. No one in finance killing the initiative because margins are too low. A problem was presented, a solution was almost instantly provided, one that Marines on site could assemble themselves. You didn't have members of the board putting their noses in it, crunching numbers. You didn't have delays in production and nightmares with distribution. You didn't have any of the normal headaches. None of the parts of the job that you hate. All that went away. You only had to deliver an idea for the fleet to build on site, where it was needed. So it got from your brain into the Marines' hands immediately, or nearly immediately, which saves lives because it doesn't leave Marines in a lurch, desperate for equipment and solutions. That's the company I'm giving you, Ben Yahweh. One that discards traditional models of military contracting and completely ignores the sluggish quagmire that is fleet bureaucracy. There is going to be a little bit of bureaucracy and red tape in this because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And as I've already stated, there is going to be opposition to this idea. We are going to take down the people at the top who have abused and corrupted their power to hurt others, and they are not going to like it. So we have to make sure that we're doing things in an intelligent and caring manner. One of the big things about this is verified users. My name is Sam King. Everything I do on this site will be tied to me. You will be able to go on there and not just track the issue, but track me. You'll be able to see what I'm doing, how I'm hoping to fix a problem, what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on. The reason for that is because more than likely they're going to try to infiltrate and oppose and subvert everything that we're doing. So there's another bit of bureaucracy that we're going to have to do, and that's called fiduciary responsibilities. There may be another legal term for it or another term, but what a fiduciary responsibility is, for those of you who don't know, it means that you have to act in the best interest of that community or that thing, not yourself. It's typically used in finance. When you go and you give your money to someone and you say, invest this money, sometimes they have a fiduciary responsibility and sometimes they don't. Those who do have to act in your best interest. Those who don't. They can act in theirs. So when you join a community and you say, I care about this issue, you're going to have to sign legal documentation saying, I am only going to act in the best interest of this. That way we make sure that we're not having saboteurs infiltrating these communities. And again, one that discards traditional models of military contracting. We're throwing the way that we operate as a society out the door, guys. This is changing the world. This isn't small. This is big. There's an idea that was recently presented to me called leadership from the bottom. I think that this is what this is. Each and every one of you will be able to get training that we will help build and provide ourselves into specific roles, such as leadership, like I hope to do, or finance, or advocacy, or research, or any other issue or role. You're going to be able to do that. We don't need to wait for someone else. You can do it. Sounds brilliant. Missing stuff. Needs to produce ideas. Well, we pretty much already got to that point. You are the one who's going to be producing these ideas. There's something that I just came up with an hour ago. I just figured this out. And hopefully you, as you're listening to this, will figure out issues with this movement and help us so that when we start it right. Oh yeah, what that idea was facts versus opinions. Sorry, I'm coming off the tail end of a cold and my brain isn't at 100%. So, report, track, take action. In tracking, there'll be two systems. There'll be the public-facing system and the private system. The private system will belong to the communities, which I'll either explain later or you can check out one of the videos. But the communities are the ones who are actually doing the work. But they shouldn't be the only ones with the information, so there'll be a public tracking page. But on the public tracking page, we can't necessarily tell all of our plans because of those opposition forces. So on the public tracking page, it's going to be very important that we're stating facts primarily, not opinions, not op-eds, not anything else, facts for you to read. But then, tied to those facts, kind of like when you go to Wikipedia and you can click a source, you'll also be able to check out opinions and put your own opinion to that fact, your own analysis. And then we'll use machine learning and a whole bunch of other tools and awesome stuff to try to figure out what people are talking about, what they're saying, and use that to figure out what the best solution is. We opened the door and welcomed any and all ideas, and what did we discover? We found Wheela. So in this book, Wheela is an amazing, insightful person who helped figure out a solution. And as they said, if they had not created this, we wouldn't have found Wheela. One of you, hopefully you, listening to this right now, is another Wheela. You have an idea for a problem, but as it goes to state later, because you're not a part of the system, because you don't belong to a nonprofit trying to take down cancer, or trying to clean up the oceans, or trying to do whatever matters to you, your idea just sits in your brain, like mine has with this idea. But we're going to create the system for you to put that idea out there, for you to tag it and annotate it to that issue, and for others to go and look and see, hey, look at that idea. That's pretty awesome. I want to enlist the world. Those words right there. There are over 4 billion people with access to the technology, phones, internet, to be able to use the website, the app, and the program. And for those who don't have access to that technology, one of the first issues we're going to be doing is trying to expand that technology. And one of the secondary subsets of that issue is creating other systems for those who can't or are not interested in interacting with the world peace movement in a technological manner. Phone banking, newsletters, correspondence mail, whatever system we need to create to make sure that everyone has access to this, regardless of where they are. I want to get in the middle of rural third world countries and find out what their issues are, so that at the very least they can report them, and that those of us in the first world who have a little bit more capability can track and take action into helping those people, because they need it. I call it open source warfare, and it's our only hope of keeping pace with the Hive Queen. I call it open source world peace, and it's our only way of keeping up with all of the issues that are going on in the world. United we stand, divided we fall. We can go a dozen different places for a dozen different issues, or we can go one place, create a standardized system with some little niches for each issue. That way, we can keep pace with all of these issues. I want you to think about how the world exists now. We've got leaders, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then we have the masses. There's not enough up here to take care of all of this down here. So we need to create a new tool, a new system that allows us to do the work ourselves, that allows us to keep track of the others who are doing the work, so that we at least know, hey, here's what's going on. They got it. I'm just going to keep track of it, but I don't need to take action into it. Let's say climate change. Greta, you're killing it. Take a break. You need it and you deserve it. But climate change doesn't need me to be a leader in that. It's already got Greta. But I would like to track what's going on. I'd like to know what Greta is up to and what others are up to, if I feel like, hey, you know what, this isn't going the way I want it to, or this isn't moving quite along. What are these people up to? Let me check it out. But right now that information is all everywhere. It's spread out. You know, I can go get a news article here and an opinion there, and, you know, check out our page here, or we can bring it all into one system, make it far more efficient. It sounds like chaos. It will be at first. Folks, this is not going to be quick. It is not going to happen overnight, but it needs to start overnight. It needs your help. So please, pause the video right now, go to the link down in the description, donate some money, sign up for your email so that I can show people that I got 1 million or 1 billion people to sign up their email. And even if they can't afford or are not interested in donating yet, they're interested in the idea. Or, even better, if you have any coding skills at all, go to the website. I have a GitHub link right there and a Discord link. Let's start talking about it. Let's start making this. This is not going to be a private thing so that everybody knows. This is going to be open source as possible, which means if for whatever reason you don't like me or my idea, you're going to be able to branch off your own world peace movement and do it yourself. Competition breeds innovation. We obviously don't want a dozen different world peace movements, and I really hope that me and everyone else who decides to act on this does so in a manner that you decide, I want to support this main one. But from the get-go, we're going to create that escape route just in case we mess up. They'll need equipment like printers that can manufacture any number of different materials, design and drafting software, tools. Tools is a term you're going to hear me talk about a lot. And I'm going to say robust a lot too. Robust tools. What is a tool? A tool is anything that can do work. A screwdriver is a tool, but you know what else is a tool? This right here. This little device can change the world if we use it right. Right now, this device is changing us. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, it's changing us. How about we use it to change the world? So there's going to be tools like communication and organization and fundraising and everything else. One of the issues you're going to be able to report is meta issues. And what meta issues are issues with the world peace movement itself. Things that the world peace movement needs or is doing wrong or whatever. And one of the things it's going to need is tools and sub-tools and all sorts of stuff. And there's going to need to be multiple iterations. There'll be primarily main tools that the majority of people use, but certain issues will need specific tools, and we will create them. They're going to like this idea. It gets them solutions faster, and it costs them next to nothing, except perhaps the expensive materials, which they're going to be all too happy to provide. They're going to accommodate this. They're going to weep with joy at this idea. This is it, folks. This is the idea. Just like there's the pill, this is the idea. Collaborative work. Everybody doing just a little part, or maybe even a big part, to change the world. And guess what? We're going to know who you are. Because again, you're going to have to be a verified user. And you're going to get recognized for even the smallest contribution that you make towards every issue that matters to you. They've been joking for a long time about these participation awards, which, in the sense of competition, is kind of funny. But honestly, think about it. In a lot of things, all you have to do is show up. All you have to do is say, this matters to me. And then the people look and they say, holy crud, look at all of these people participating. So, if you guys decide to fund this, I've got a little surprise for you in the sense of a participation award. Hopefully you all will get the humor and the joke and enjoy it. Initially, I'll fund it, said Lim. I'm broke, okay? Dave Chappelle ain't got nothing on me. I am broke. I as of now, was a rideshare driver, Uber and Lyft. Hopefully you don't judge me too harshly because of that. Again, I finally decided to accept that I suffer from depression, and it's not an easy thing for me to accept because I want my brain to be awesome. I want it to be the best, and admitting that there are issues with it sucks. But I'm pretty sure that I do have depression or some other, not severe, but mild form of it because it keeps me from doing this and doing the work I need to make this happen. But again, I'm broke. I don't have money. So tomorrow or the next day or whenever I can get back out of my head, I'm going down to Seattle. I'm going to stand in front of the Gates Foundation and I'm going to be sharing this idea with them over a bullhorn. I'm going to invade their space and show them that they need to do this, that they need to help fund this. Because while I understand that they want to focus on specific things, if we create this system, the ideas that the masses will be able to present for those specific things that they want to focus on will grow exponentially. They use this term called an impatient optimist, and that's something that I'm going to be kind of shoving back down their throat tomorrow. I am the impatient optimist. The world doesn't have time for me to wait and get over my imposter syndrome, and I know for sure that this idea is going to work. So for everybody from the Gates Foundation that is watching this, I apologize for shouting at your windows. Hopefully you forgive me. I did what I had to do to get this going. I really appreciate all the help and support that you've done. We'll work with people who raise money like this for a living. If you have any ability to fundraise, please do. Please help this. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get the Gates to listen and support this. So hopefully you, the masses, will decide, because how we're going to fund this is through membership dues. It's the most ethical way to do it. We're not going to allow your social economic status to become a barrier to help to taking part of this. There will be a free tier of membership, which is what everybody will initially be signed up for. And I'm thinking you may even be forced to stay on that free tier for a short time while you learn and come up to speed about what the World Peace Movement is. But while grants will be nice and any loans or whatever, we can't be unethical. We can't have ads on this site. So that's out the window. So the only way that I see to fund this is through membership dues. But I'm kind of a creative guy, so I've got an idea that I think that you're going to like. The basic tier, as of right now, and I have no background in finance, so it may be higher, it may be lower, but the basic tier will be about $20 US a year. Anyone who's above the basic tier, which will be $5 or $10 a month, or $50 or $100 a year, a portion of that, and I'm thinking like half, is going to come back to you. And why I put the quotations on it is because I'm not just going to refund you your money. It's going to go into a credit system within the World Peace Movement, and you're going to get to vote with your money on what we build out first, what systems and what tools we focus on. And then after we get World Peace Movement up to version 1.0, then those credits will be able to be used to support nonprofits and other organizations that are already working on this. Which reminds me that I skipped over a giant part that's extremely important. I apologize. Again, I'm coming off the tail end of a cold and not exactly in the best. We'll find them at Juke and its competitors. We'll find them at universities. We'll find them at 10,000 places all over the earth. The goal of the World Peace Movement is not to take over the entire activism ecosphere. We're not trying to get rid of Amnesty International or ACLU or anything like that. What we're trying to do is organize to make it more efficient. So what that means is knowing who's doing what and what they are doing. Cancer is a huge issue for the human population. How many different cancer places are there? And one of the things that ticks me off the most is all these cancer awareness places. We know cancer exists. We know it's a thing. We're aware of cancer. Okay? We don't need 500 different cancer awareness nonprofits. That doesn't mean that we don't need any, and that doesn't mean that the work that they're doing isn't good. But there is a ridiculously large amount of cancer awareness nonprofits. And to me, that's unacceptable. So we need to figure out who all these nonprofits are, or who all these non-government organizations are, what they're doing specifically, and we need to trim the fat. We need to merge as many of these resources as we can, or at least get them working with each other. And we need to figure out, again, who's doing what. So that's one of the things that we're going to do with the World Peace Movement. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. But again, my goal and the goal of the World Peace Movement isn't to directly resolve all of these issues. Some of them they will. But what we're going to do initially is find all the people working on all the known issues, and we're going to, again, focus and figure out who's doing what, get rid of the fat, and then we're going to figure out what issues don't have organizations working on them, and we're going to create them. So, folks, that's it. That's the idea. Report, track, take action. With those 3 steps, a whole bunch of tools, and the collaborative work of you, everyone you know, and everyone around the world, we're going to bring about world peace. So right now, you have a choice. You can just go on and watch the next YouTube video. You could take a moment, write some of this down, offer some constructive criticism, which I really hope you do. I won't be able to digest all of it right now, or maybe even any of it, but I do genuinely need to know what I'm doing wrong so that way we can do it better. And lastly, you can choose to share this idea. This is the idea. This is what changes the world. This is what makes it better for everybody. We're going to talk about what's going on. We're going to come together and we're going to work on it and we're going to fix it. We're going to open ourselves up to constructive criticism because some of the things that we think are issues and care about aren't, or at least are not all that important. We're going to have to do a ranked choice so that way we can focus on the issues that matter the most to us and that are most urgent, and then let others take care of the other issues. We're going to do a whole bunch of amazing things, guys. This is just a fraction of the idea. Hopefully, you guys decide to come together in a massive push so that way I can get up out of this funk and start getting all this idea out there. But I'm going to need the support of at least a few people directly. That way I can talk with them and we can start writing this down and organizing it. Because one of my issues is getting stuff out of my brain and onto paper. So, go to the link in the description. Sign up your email. Donate some money if you got it. Even if it's $1. Give me 10 cents. I want your 10 cents. I want your dime. Drop a dime on me. I don't care how much money you give me, okay? Donate as much as you can. Let me know that you're interested. And at the very least, share the idea with others. I'd like to apologize at the end of this for my ranting and for my terrible voice and for the terrible production quality. I'll make it better again in the future, but this needs to happen as quick as possible. Again, my name is Sam King. Thank you for taking all this time to listen to the idea. I look forward to talking to you again in the future.